Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. I'm here with my partner, as always, Mr. Tate Mathews. Tate, it's all about football this week. Nothing else really going on. We're going to be talking second-round football, heading into the quarterfinals. We got a little basketball and wrestling coming up, but in terms of games being played right now, it's all about pigskin heading into Thanksgiving.
Yep, a lot of big games to talk about too, so I'm excited.
Very excited. Hey, let's talk just right off the bat. Maybe, well, I really can't say this. There's a couple of really exciting games.
Yes.
But Brentwood, Independence. Independence ends up coming up short, 31-28. Brentwood wins at home. And they win, Brentwood does, with a great comeback. They're down 28-17. And then the flick heard round the world. Cade Granzow to Luke Fontesha, which, by the way, made SportsCenter, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It's pretty big. I know there was a Summit kickoff return, their first varsity play or something like that of the first varsity game. I'm sure there's been maybe one other, but no, that was in college. I think this is one of like 2 or 3 ever on SportsCenter. Pretty big deal. And well-deserved. What a play.
We're just kind of regulars on
it. It was all diagram too.
It was unbelievable. So we're just regulars now on ESPN.
That's right.
We had a game on ESPN. Now we've got a top 10 on ESPN. But talk about Granzow and what a great competitor he is, because really it was a competitor making a play. 4th down and 4, 4th and goal from the 4. And I was at the game with the varsity guy, your dad, Mr. Doug Mathews. We're standing on the sideline watching the game, and we turned and said to each other, think about all the work, and it's one play.
One play.
One play to determine who moves on and who is eliminated. That's the cruel and the positive about sports. It's what happens.
Oh yeah, man. And especially when it's 2 of your teams that you care about. You know, you're so happy for one and you hurt so bad for the other, and it's tough. But that's where the coaches like you all always tell your boys, and girls, that's why the life lessons are learned in athletics. But you talked about I always call him Judd. Cade, Judd's his dad.
Who was pretty excited. A pretty excited ball boy, by the way.
He should have been, yeah. And he was a really good player as well. But, the thing that I go all the way back to last week, he goes in, it's his senior year, and he got a big game last week against Cane Ridge, and he gets hurt in the 3rd play and goes out. His backup comes in, goes 17 for 19, 5 touchdowns. Didn't even know if Cade was going to play this week, and then, they started feeling better about it on Wednesday and Thursday. He goes in, but who knows? Wasn't quite sure how he would play, and I know you're going to get to the stats, but, what a tough dude, man. What a competitor. What a leader. And then, like you said, it came down to the last play, and that play was that was a ball player making a ball play, man. Pretty cool.
Well, and it was the ultimate, you're happy for Brentwood. Coach Crawford going through some stuff with his mom, being ill. And then you feel bad for the kids at Indy. It's this range of emotions. You feel great for one team and so bad for another team. But it was a game that Indy, again, in that first half, they're up 21-7 at the half. And it just looked like they were going to win going away. Brentwood's defense sort of bows up in the second half. They get a couple big stops when they need to. And really, you think about this. It was 28-17. And Brentwood not only has to score 2 straight possessions, they have to stop Indy 2 straight possessions, which is very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, and I was going to say, obviously Coach Crawford and his staff made some adjustments at halftime because they scored 21 in the first half, 7 in the second one. So, but still, man, what a hole to come out of against a team like that. And then, like you said, you still had to have a couple of stops along with those plays, with all those scoring drives. So, heck of a game. Hate that it was in the second round. That's another tough thing. I know why they have the playoffs designed the way they do, but dang, that is a semifinal game right there.
Yeah, no doubt. In fact, Coach Blade and I talked about this earlier this year. You get the sense, and it's definitely trending this way, whichever team comes out of it for us, now it's Brentwood Franklin, is going to make the final.
I think so.
I mean, they're going to make it to the finals. So it's that pressure of playing someone you know, the pressure of knowing if we can win, we can really take this thing deep, and part of it's just too bad. You know, I looked at the stats, Tate, and they were pretty similar, number of first downs, number of penalties.
Yes.
But when you talk turnovers, there was only one turnover in the game, and Indy made it. Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I'm glad. That's pretty neat. You're becoming quite the stat guy. You're right. That was, in a game like this, one turnover, that's crazy. As much as the ball was being thrown around, too. Yeah, and I don't know when that was. You were at the game. Do you remember?
At the second half.
Okay, so
second half.
So it was pivotal.
Definitely pivotal. Jackson Campbell ends his great career. Again, he's the Mr. Football semifinalist. Got a real shot at winning it, honestly. 18 for 26, 211 yards, 1 touchdown passing, couple touchdowns rushing. Great game for him, as usual. And, you know, a guy that really, Independence looking at the glass half full. Ty Lockwood, a sophomore. Trey Hartwell, a sophomore. Really two of the most explosive players on the field. Ty with 12 receptions, 158 yards. Trey, 13 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown. And listen, if you're talking big time like Division I prospects, I'm not so sure the biggest prospect on the field wasn't Ty Lockwood. That dude's 15 years old.
He's a dude. That's a strong statement, too.
He's really good. In terms, I'm talking.
There's one going to UT, but I know what you're saying.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, in terms of when you look at him. And I sort of confirmed that with Coach Mathews as we were talking about. He
liked him?
He's like, that's hard to argue.
Yeah.
He's getting his name, trying to get the spelling so he could.
I wonder who he was texting.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat.
It wasn't the Big Blue Nation,
unfortunately. Cade Grand's out. Tate, talk about his performance.
21 for 33, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 18 rushes, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, wasn't 100% healthy, and 18 rushes, for 108 yards. That's a lot of hits that he took in a playoff game where he's not 100%, but that's just what he does. As we know, in these tight games, that's the recipe for them to win. If he's over 100, he's going to be over 100 passing. If he's over 100 rushing yards, that's usually pretty good for the Bruins. But just a player, man. I love him. And, humble cat, too.
Those stats, when you look at them, it's almost like a video game. You're like, those are like a guy's stats. I mean, okay, he's got 166 yards passing, but that means he couldn't have 108 yards rushing.
Right.
Like, oh, yes,
no, he did. Yeah. Both those quarterbacks are, you can win with either one of them, man. I love it.
No doubt.
Really good.
Scotty Collins, 6 rushes, 60 yards for Brentwood. And then Fontesha really made a couple of big plays. 2 touchdown receptions after Merrill goes out. But he stepped up big time, not only catching the one that he did to be the difference in the game, but he caught one earlier as well. Aaron Walton, 5 receptions, 44 yards. And Collins, 6 receptions, 43 yards. So he had over 100 yards rushing, receiving combined. What a great game it was.
Great game, and Coach Crawford's glad to have them behind him and have that game off them. Matchups, Independence is a bad matchup for Brentwood, but they got the win. That's huge.
Ravenwood, 28, Franklin, 31. So now we have a Franklin-Brentwood traditional WCS rival in the quarterfinals. And by the way, this is this week's gem, Tate. Franklin. It's their first win over Ravenwood since 2016. And what else happened that year?
They went to the quarterfinals.
State quarterfinals. So they're hoping to at least one-up that one, right?
That's right.
They want to at least get to the semis, but they've made it to the quarterfinals once again. So congratulations to Franklin and another wild finish. Tate, what about Taylor Spirito? Big fan of the game and a fan of obviously making big plays as well.
Big play. Coach Donnie Webb talks about him all the time. Doesn't like to come off the field. He's always around the ball, just a knack to make big plays. 12 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. And, man, as big as that last play was for Brentwood, it wasn't as dramatic with the underhand flip, but, just as big of a play to win over Ravenwood. We didn't pick this game right. I don't know that anybody picked this game right other than the Admiral Faithful. Big-time play, man, and by a big-time player.
So that game, it starts off, Ravenwood scores first, and it's totally back and forth until 21-all.
Right.
Then Franklin gets a field goal from A.J. Elliott. They go up 24-21 with 5:30 left, and that's really when the fun started.
Correct.
24-21, Franklin gets a big stop. They get the ball back with 3:50. It looks like they're going to.
We're going to get behind that big offensive line and run the clock out.
And what happens? They fumble.
Fumble.
With 1:50 left. And then Ravenwood scores. A backup, Jacob Stewart, had to come in and replace Trevor Andrews after the first quarter, which was obviously a big hit for Ravenwood.
Yes.
But, hey, just like any sport, but football, I think the mantra is always next man up. Jacob steps up, does a good job, hits Lee Millette with 51 seconds left, and you're thinking, dang, Franklin's going to be kicking themselves after fumbling the ball. And then in 47 seconds, Connor Bevan leads an unbelievable drive. He hits Spirito in the corner of the end zone. Great catch by Spirito, nice pass by Bevan. But they go 73 yards in 7 plays in 47 seconds. Repass with a couple of big catches and also Garner.
Yeah. Bevan's really been playing well the last few weeks and over 300 yards. Well, no, he's been playing well all year, but I mean, he's been on fire the last few weeks. Over 300 yards again. I was trying to think. I know he's got 3 or 4 or 5 300-yard games.
No question.
And it seems like the last 3 in a row, maybe. He's been on fire, man.
Over 2,500 yards, which I think you said.
Yeah.
He's heading towards,
he's well over that now.
He's heading towards 3,000.
He's heading towards 3,000. That's exactly right. And I think, well, now that if we said last week, if he had over 100, he was going to be 25, right? Well, he had 300. So, yeah, he could get over.
He's probably going to.
It's going to be close. And I don't care who it's against. You go 73 yards in 47 seconds. That's clutch right there, man. Against a really good defense, against some really good secondary guys. By the way, Miles Pollard is going to be big time. That's huge, man.
He recovered the fumble.
And let me tell you something else. Andrew Holcomb, the offense coordinator for Franklin, what a great job he's done, man.
He has done a great job. And in fact, I was going to mention this, talking about team stats that really stood out to me. Franklin, time of possession, 31-16. Number of plays, 72-45. That 27-play difference had to make a difference on that last drive.
No question.
Had to be gas.
So, hey, that's a lot of defensive snaps for the Raptors. A lot.
It is. It is.
In high school football. Yep. Big, man. We knew it was going to be an all WCS quarterfinal. We just didn't know it was going to be Brentwood Franklin. But
right, I picked Indy Ravenwood.
and that's exactly right. And Bryce Sparks, not a huge, not a statistical night that's going to stand out to you, but 15 rushes, tough 50 yards, and that was part of that time of possession as well. So the best defense is keeping a good offense off the field. The best defense is a good, a ball control offense, right? And that's what the Admirals were able to do.
Trevor Andrews finishes out his career. Again, he only played a quarter, 6 for 9, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, Jacob Stewart came in and backed up. Trevor did a nice job, 8 for 19, 110 yards and a touchdown. The careers of Brenning, Stuhl, and Johnston come to an end, 82 yards receiving and a touchdown for Brenning, Stuhl. Johnston, 77 yards and a touchdown. And Justin Smitherman, 60 yards and a touchdown. Great seasons for those young men.
And what a great 4 years that senior class had, man. I know some people will, this loss had to be deflating, maybe came up a little short. Really tough schedule. I think Franklin's a pretty dang good football team, but I mean, what a 4-year career, man. This class is up there with some of the best.
Shout out to Carson Repass of Franklin also, 6 receptions, 111 yards. Another young man. The stats just keep seeming to pile up.
Oh, yeah. Well, and think about it. There was a time when if I told you there was 2 Franklin wide receivers over 100 yards in the same game, you'd laugh, right? But, they really got that passing game going.
Well, and I credit Coach Webb, too. Not that they had Critchlow. That guy was passing the ball, too.
Right.
But I credit Coach Webb and Coach Holcomb for adjusting how they're playing.
Right.
They're like, look, people are going to stack the box against us, and we've got some people who are pretty talented in these other positions, too. Let's take advantage of it. They outpass their rushing yards pretty much every game.
Yes.
So that says something when you're talking about the line that they have. You would think they would be running the ball pretty much every play. So I give them credit for making an adjustment.
Oh, 100%. That's what good coaches do. And, they got a quarterback that they trust now. You got to trust your quarterback to do that if you're going to call those. And they've got a guy that they trust in it. And I can't wait to get to Pick'ems. I don't think this is a give me this Franklin-Brentwood game. Do you?
No, absolutely don't think it is. All right, let's move on here. Nolansville, big win. We thought it would happen. We knew it'd be tough. Nolansville goes to DeKalb County, the number 1 seed, and they win 24-17. They have a big goal line stop with 3 minutes to go, up 24-17, and then they're able to kill the clock with a couple of big first downs. And they went up, by the way, with 8:50 left, tied 17-all. Here's a combo we've been talking about a lot. Gallardi to Chance Fitzgerald. Great win for Nolansville and Coach Derrick. And now, to me, they're playing with the house's money.
That's right. They're back where they wanted to be, undefeated Tullahoma. And hey, this game was a tough game. They had the leading, which we talked about last week, the leading passer in the Mid-State, and Axel Aldino. And I had a busted coverage in the first quarter, in the first half, that was one of the touchdowns. Now, credit to DeKalb County, but that one shouldn't have happened, okay? So they go, what do? They get in, so they're down, they give up 17 points in the first half. They go into the second half. They know what they need to do. They fix a few things, shut them out in the second half. And so the point is, it's a really explosive, really good offense. They shut them out in the third and fourth quarter and won by 7. That was all the difference in the world.
And they'll take it.
They'll take it. That was a good team they beat.
Gallardi, 15 for 25, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fitzgerald, 7 receptions, 142 yards. That's about 20 yards of reception.
That's right.
Samson Johnson, can't keep him out of the end zone.
Can't keep him out.
16 for 81, a touchdown, and then had some guys on defense step up too, Tate.
Mike McWilliams, 12 tackles. Braden Rose, 10 tackles. Jackson Good, 9 tackles and 2 sacks. Colton Dobson added an interception. A lot of guys around the ball. Hey, you got Jackson's 1 away. You almost had 3 guys with double-digit tackles. That's getting after it. But and I think the defensive game plan for DeKalb was, which is kind of surprising to me, take away the running game. And so, Samson 16 for 81, but tough yards, and like you said, still couldn't keep him out of the end zone. So they tried, but came up short.
Well, you got to pick.
Nolo rolls.
You got to pick your poison a little bit with Nolansville.
100%. Well, and don't forget, Gallardi can run it too. He doesn't do it as much as, say, a Cade does or a Jackson Campbell does, but he can run it as well too.
Our final game last week, Summit comes out on top. No surprise, 28-14.
The Summit quarterback can't run at all.
Over Columbia. Yeah, speaking of weird yards there and yards you don't believe, Destin Wade, your quarterback, 242 yards, a rushing, 3 touchdowns, and oh, by the way, he throws in a passing touchdown. Total yards, Summit 389, Columbia 205. I don't really feel like this one was as close as the score, honestly.
Yeah.
They weren't in danger of losing this game.
No, I don't think so either. And those two, here was the interesting thing to me. The 242 rushing yards that Destin had were on 23 attempts. So he got the bulk of the rushing. That's the cool thing, though. You hate that they missed those games, but there hadn't been a whole lot of hits on Destin this year. So body's fresh. He can take it. I think that's going to be a continuing trend as you see it. 8 for 15, I believe, passing, but yeah, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's just a running back there who can throw. I don't think Columbia was ever had a chance in this one.
They're probably happy. They're like, dang, we kind of hung in there. At least it looks like we did.
Yeah. I'm mad I didn't get to put my Brian Coleman boat captain hat on, but that's okay.
And I don't know if this week's games are going to allow in your predictions for you to wear.
Pretty tough.
It may just be more decoration this week.
Yeah. A teaser.
Just a teaser.
Yeah. Destin played really well.
No surprise.
So, what else does that tell you? Offensive line. If he rushed for 242 yards, offensive line played really well too.
Caleb Jolly, a touchdown reception and an interception. Shout out to that defense too.
Yep.
2 for 11 on third downs was Columbia.
Yep.
You can't beat Summit if you don't have the ball.
Nope.
And so the Summit defense really came up big there, especially on third down.
Brandon King had a nice game. Zach Switzer had a nice game. You know, that's the neat thing. Obviously, every game, Destin is going to dominate the stats. But there's also a lot of guys that always contribute, you know, and so, you know, when you see where King had a good job and a good game, and Jolly and Switzer and Trey Hunter, you know, you're probably in trouble.
Sacks by Finley Jamison, Trey Hunter, and John Sloan for Summit. Again, 28-14. And we'll talk about this game in a second. I think they're playing the state championship game this week.
I do too.
The winner of that game is going to win it.
And it's going to be a good one.
Man, it's going to be.
Hey, if that Beach-Hillsboro score didn't open your eyes, it should have.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I want to talk about when we get to that game. You know, Hillsboro's playing so well, and look what they did to Page, and then 36-0. Wow. It's going to be a great game.
Great game.
And Summit will be ready.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about this week's playoff games. Got 3 games to talk about, Tate. Brentwood 9-3 versus Franklin 7-5. It's a rematch of the October 16th game, which Brentwood won 42-20, but throw that out the window because the Ravenwood-Franklin was a rematch, and I think it was something like 42-21. And I didn't mention this last week. Junior Colson, there was another defensive player that didn't play the game against Franklin last time. So you would have thought going in, oh, Ravenwood's actually got more weapons this time on defense, and look what Franklin did. So Franklin got a 4-game winning streak going. Their last loss was that Brentwood game.
Yeah, I think it's a much different Franklin team than the first one. You can throw that score out the window. Brentwood's been fighting. Got 2 weeks ago, 34 guys out. They got a bunch of them back last week. But as you know, they're at home, quarantined, and you can do all the air squats and body work you want to. It's not the same. You're not there on the practice field. And then they had a really, really tough game against Independence. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. How healthy is Brentwood? It looks to me like Franklin's pretty healthy, really healthy. I'd take that game, throw it right out the window.
Since 2001, these teams have played 6 times in the playoffs, and they're 3-3. The last time they played in the playoffs was 2011. Brentwood comes out on top, 23-14. But it's 3-3 since 2001. Obviously, Coach Webb, Coach Crawford go way back, head-to-head 4-2. Coach Crawford at this point there with Franklin and Brentwood. But it's a tough game, man. It's a tough one. I think it's a tough one to call.
That's those are great scores too. I mean, it was back and forth for a while now. I mean, you could bank on it. There was going to be a Franklin Brentwood part 2, and then it kind of became, for a while, it kind of became Ravenwood Franklin in the playoffs. But pretty neat. Head to head, Crawford 4-2. That's pretty awesome.
You know, I thought this was interesting, and in part of which I think, fair enough. I feel like Brentwood's less confident thinking they might have to play Ravenwood again. But it was interesting to me to kind of listen. They kept announcing that Franklin score, and the Brentwood folks were so happy. I'm like, this has got to be the first time that they've announced in Franklin winning games, and they're happy. But I'm telling you, there was this buzz like, we're happy, but hey, be careful what you wish for.
That's right. Be careful what you wish for. I think that's just how intense that Battle of the Wood rivalry is. It's kind of like you hear Tennessee fans, I'm for Tennessee, and whoever's playing Alabama.
Yes. Let's move on to our next
Might be
game,
the same thing.
But before we get to our picks, let's talk about our other games, though. 2 number 1 seeds battling out. And the way it works, you switch which region gets to host. So it's Summit number 1 at Beach number 1. Beach is 2-0 in this series. Beach is winners of 10 straight after that opening season loss to Knoxville Powell, 21-14. And we talked about last week, Beach 36-0 over Hillsboro. Again, I'm saying it's a state championship game.
I think so too. And the interesting thing is, which you watched it for years, Coach Crabtree, they always get better. That 21-14 loss to Powell. Powell got put out in the first round. But ever since then, they've won 10 straight. And if you looked at those scores, 36 against Hillsboro, it was like 45. It's 36, 45, 46, 40. They're putting up big points. Really good offense. Summit's a really good offense. Beach now has a turf field, which I think is in Summit's favor. You know, we've been blessed. There haven't been many bad weather games this year, but if there is Friday night, that's good. And Destin on a turf field, I really like that. But if you like running the ball, Beach is for you. They've got Adrian Johnson and Tyshawn Jefferson. Both of them went for over 100 yards against Hillsboro. Adrian Johnson, combined, they were almost 200 yards. Tyshawn was over 100. Adrian last week had a touchdown. He threw a touchdown, so watch him out of the backfield, and had a 2-point conversion. He's a player. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot, we say it all the time, going to be a lot of navy and orange, a lot of bald heads between the head coaches.
Bald heads and goatees and
it's gonna be
all
great.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Our final game, Nolansville, number 2 seed, 7-3, travels to Tullahoma, number 1 seed, 12-0. It's a rematch of that 29-14 Tullahoma win on October 23rd. Tullahoma rolled last week, 35-7 over Marshall County. In my opinion, no matter what happens, Coach Derrick and the Knights, they are peaking at the right time.
I think so too. There were some things that they did in the first half, in the first game that they played that they wish they had back, you know. They got a better feel for them. So, and I know Coach Derrick and them have been in the film room. There's no film room anymore, but in the film room all weekend. I think they're having a really good game plan. Tullahoma's got a lot of firepower, but so does Nolansville. So it's going to be a tough one, but I think it's going to be a come down to the end, a fun one.
Let's talk pick'ems, Tate. Last week we talked about it being Separation Friday, and you've put me in a spot where I may have to, do I make a pick to try to tie this thing up? Do I go with what I really think?
This is a tight race.
It's a tight race. So you and the fans both went 3-1. You had a good week. Qualls and I went 2-2, but let's talk totals. Qualls comfortably in 4th with 49 wins. In 3rd place, the fans with 51 wins. I have 54 wins, and you have 55 wins. Keep voting out there. WCS CO Athletics on Twitter. Tate, here we go. Let's jump right in. I'm going to give you the choice, actually. Do you want to pick the first game first, or you want me to pick, and then we'll go from there? You tell me. I'll do whatever. Listen, you're ahead.
It's like I always say.
You got the choice.
At the end of this show, when the credits roll, it says Darrin joins executive producer. It's your show. I'll let you go. I already know what I'm doing.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, since you know, once you get us started off.
Okay.
Brentwood hosting Franklin. Again, Brentwood 9-3, Franklin 7-5. Mr. Mathews, what say you?
Well, being the former head basketball coach at Franklin who broke the 30-year drought and took them back to the state tournament, I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation. So I
feel like this, you're just making that up.
Even though I think this is going to be very tight, I am going to go with the Brentwood Bruins. I think this, they just can't get over the quarterfinal hump. Mr. Granzow, I think this is the year I'm going with the Bruins, but in a tight one.
How did that not put me in a tough situation?
Well, I know you don't want to pick against Franklin.
Listen, I'm trying to...
This is called psychological warfare.
It is psychological warfare. And Tate, I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think it goes to the end. But I'm actually going to agree with you, Tate.
Okay.
I think Brentwood comes out on top in a very, 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 very close contest. And wouldn't be surprised either way. But I'm also going Brentwood. And I think the difference is playing at home. I think it matters.
I do too. 100%.
Second game. This is another one you probably don't want to put me in a uncomfortable spot, do you? Since I spent a lot of time at Beach High School, but it's Summit at Beach. Again, another game that I think goes to the wire.
Well, I don't think this is an uncomfortable situation for you because I'm going to quote a story of when Bobby Bowden was at Florida State and Tommy Bowden was the head coach at Clemson. And they asked Mrs. Bowden, "Who are you cheering for?" And she said, "Are you kidding? I'm cheering for the school that signs my husband's paycheck." So I'm assuming that's what you're going to do. I'm going to tell you, I would pick Beach in this game, but there's one reason why I'm not. Would you like to know what that one reason is?
Destin Wade?
Number one, Destin Wade. Because I think Beach is really good, but I think Destin's going to make enough plays that I think the Spartans win. But this is another tough one. I'm going Summit.
I'm actually going to agree with you, Tate, and I'm going to agree with Miss Bowden. So I do think it's another one that goes down to the end. And again, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I'm also going Summit.
Okay.
And our final game, and let me pick this one first.
Fantastic.
Nolansville at Tullahoma. Tullahoma's playing well. Tullahoma's 12-0.
I feel like I'm at game day.
But it's not going to be enough. I'm telling you, Nolansville, I think that last game was closer than the score.
It was.
And I think they're trending in the right direction. And I think the difference in this game, my friend, not a player, it's going to be being there. I think there's a chance that Tullahoma, they have not been in this position. Not that Nolansville's been in it a lot, but they were there last year.
That's right.
And some of the guys, Gallardi, who's playing in this game, he was there last year. He'll be under center taking that, well, he'll be taking the snaps. I think that experience is going to matter. I think that being there is going to matter. I'm going Nolansville.
Whew, I like it. I like everything you said. Everything. But I think this Tullahoma team is really, really good. I think Coach Derrick and his staff, regardless of what happens, got the absolute most out of this team that they could and did a great job. I think Tullahoma wins the 4A state championship. I think they beat Elizabethton or whoever, Anderson County, whoever they go through. Like you said on 5A, I think this is the state championship game. I'm willing to try to shake this up and get a 2-game lead on you. And again, I think this is the best Tullahoma team they've ever had. So I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going with the Tullahoma Wildcats. I think they go to 13-0.
This could really be Separation Friday. You win this one, it's over.
It could be.
I'll have to start making picks that are just crazy. But I'm very comfortable in second, so I'll be able to do that.
Second?
No,
no, you've always heard second's first loser. Bull. That's not. Second's much better than fourth. Who was second place in college football last year?
Right, I don't even remember.
Well, Clemson.
Oh.
You're right.
Was
yeah,
it?
they got beat by LSU. Nobody knows who fourth was.
No, I didn't even know second, to be honest with you. I appreciate you trying to make me feel better,
Trying to help
Tate.
you.
Still trying to hang in there.
Hey, we could be tied next week, and then it gets really interesting.
Hey, and I did want to mention, because we talked about this before, one of the big fans of our show, my dad. Actually, the day we're taping this show is his birthday, so happy birthday, Dad, number 79.
Still going strong from what I'm hearing, the reports out of Kentucky that I'm getting. Hadn't missed a step.
Tate, I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
Check
Can't
out a
wait to be
game
back
this
next
week. Check out a game this week. I know you will. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time on Sports Connection.